guys remember a few weeks ago, I had told you that I'm having this problem with my dog, Hammy. He gets excited and he wants to go outside. And this is a new development for you, Dr. Flood, because you don't know this. So Hammy wants to go outside. He gets excited. He's jumping. I put the collar and the leash on him. And then we get to the driveway and he's like, I don't think so. So I kind of like nudge him down the driveway and he keeps looking at the house like a crazy dog. And then he gets in the street because we walk in the street because where I live, there's no sidewalks. And then I'm kind of like nudging him to get down the street. And then eventually if he gets past my neighbor, I call her Kravitz, like Gladys Kravitz, because she's the nosy neighbor. A member from Bewitched. Anyway, so then he'll go on the walk. But a few days ago, he slipped his collar. We're 5 houses down the street and he turns around and he runs home. This is so cool. He does not run in the street. He runs up the gutter and then runs into the driveway because they're never in the front lawn. He never touches foot on the front lawn grass. And then he sits there and waits by the door. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
This is totally amazing because you're nothing more than a typical pet parent. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So you know what? So I decided that I needed some professional guidance.
Yes. Clearly.
So what do? I bring my old friend Babette Haggerty of Haggerty School of Dogs, who had the most wonderful dad, who everybody knew back in the day in New York. And Babette has carried on the family tradition of doing dog training.
And you need some expert opinion here.
I need some expert opinion.
You really do, yeah.
So you heard the story, right? Mm-hmm. I know Babette. She'll ask me later about my next door neighbor, why I named her Kravitz, as in Gladys Kravitz from Bewitched. But what do you think, Babette? What? Now, I will say this. It is thunderstorm season here in Florida. That's like the environmental sidebar. But so what do you think of this situation?
It's July and it's Florida.
yes, that's right. But
that's what I would want to do.
It's hot.
But here's what my clients would say. But it was July in Florida last year, and my pet didn't do this last year.
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that?
Wait. And there's more. Okay, so we talked about the thunder, right? But Hammy likes to sit in the backyard in the sun. He, like Hudson. Remember Hudson? He used to sit on the deck and like Ty. He will go and sit in the backyard and bake in the sun. So what do you think, Babette?
You know, there could be like a truck in the distance that you don't even hear. It could be garbage trucks. It could just be a car backfiring. It could be he just doesn't feel like going for a walk. And he'd rather go home. Because what happens when you bring him home? You probably bring him inside. You give him a cookie when you come back from your walk?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
Do I need to do that?
No. That'll make him want to go home even more.
Should I give him a cookie when I get outside and like down the street, like, past?
I would definitely like take a few steps, give him a cookie, walk a few steps, give him a cookie, make sure that pavement isn't too hot for him, which I'm sure you already checked that. And if he's running in the gutter back, then it's, possibly not that hot, because then he would be running on the grass if it was that hot.
Sure.
Is it the same time of day this always happens?
Well, it's interesting because I walk my dogs when it's pitch black. Okay. And that's in the morning, and that's been going on for a long time. I mean, and then in the afternoon, it's like they go in the backyard in the afternoon because it's just too hot. They go out 2 or 3 times in the afternoon, and he doesn't poop and pee on a leash. Very rarely does he pee on a leash. So occasionally he'll pee, like I said, on a leash, but no. And then like tonight, I'll usually walk him like around in the nighttime. I'll usually walk him around like 7, and we go to our friend's house. Like we walk around the block, we go to our friend's house. And then, he gets to a point, he just, on the walk on the way, he's fine when we get like around the bend. And then when he knows he's gone home, he's like dying to get home.
Yeah.
But then I have to give all the other dogs cookies too. So it's not just one cookie, it's like, 9 cookies.
So you're walking all of them together and he doesn't want to be any part of the pack?
No, he's like fine. Like once he gets going. And then like when he sees the house, he's kind of like, hey.
Have you tried walking him alone to see what he does?
I'll try it and see what happens. That's a good suggestion.
Try mixing up the pack a little bit. So maybe it's not all 9 dogs.
No,
Because
9 dogs. That's 3 dogs and 9 cookies. If I need 3 cookies.
oh, okay. I was thinking like, oh my God, she's got 9 dogs. She's crazier than me.
No, well, that makes me
I
ask
can't believe
Babette.
you have 9 dogs.
Wait a
in your
second.
house.
Does that want to make you ask Babette how many dogs does she have? Because if she thought I had 9 dogs, now I'm curious how many dogs does she
Babette,
have?
how many dogs do you have?
Now I have 4. I used to have more than that. When I lived in Florida and had lots of room, I had quite a few. I had 6 at one point.
That's not too many.
No, we had 6. I
It
mean,
just
we
takes
lost.
a long time to feed them.
We just lost 3 in the last
Yeah.
6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
So
But
Yeah.
you have little ones, right? See, I had
Yeah.
big. I had German Shepherds and a Rottie and a Lab, and and there was always like circulating foster dogs and temporary stay dogs and couch surfers.
right, and training dogs, right?
Dogs, yeah.
This kind of reminds me of almost all of the clients that I see every day. As I quiz them about their medical cases, we delve into the psychological realm of their existence. And you know what? I think every family has mysteries that they don't want to share. And so Charlotte's really good because she shared her mystery.
That's a good way to put it. I mean, it's interesting. For the most part, I very rarely have had any dog problems. I mean, in the behavioral realm of this, I mean, Wally's a little aggressive with Mara. I should say a little. He's a lot aggressive with Mara, but Mara's older. He's kind of blind now, and I mean, that is handleable because I can deal with that because Wally's 9 pounds. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't know.
But this discussion is so important because it has a profound effect on how that relationship exists with the bond between, the pet parents and them. And you are so important and needed in so many cases. And a lot of people don't recognize that they need your assistance.
They need expert help.
They need some real expert help. I mean, I can tell when we try to put them on the exam table and try to deal with them. And
not my dogs, but other dogs.
Well, I'm talking about the clients in general.
Oh, the clients in general.
Yeah. I mean, I'll see probably 30 clients a day.
Right.
And every day, there's a challenge with many. And I really feel badly for them because I think they want to love that pet more and they're frustrated. And, you start saying, well, maybe, I guess it's like people. You need help. Oh, what do you mean I need help? People don't necessarily like you to tell them that they need help. But in many cases, their life would be so much better
if they hired a professional.
Yeah, first of all, they got to recognize that they need you. Then they have to accept what you're going to do and then go for it.
The funny thing is when I think about, the dogs I've had, especially the English toys I've had over the years, they're highly intelligent dogs. They're very quiet and they're not so revealing of their personalities, unlike other dogs. Like you'll see what a German Shepherd is like or a Lab is like or even an Airedale. But an English toy is kind of like very proper, kind of looks at guests and just kind of like, you can read his mind. It's kind of like, when are they leaving? You know what I mean? That's what they're kind of like. When are they leaving? They'll sit there with their paws crossed, look at the person. And if it's a kid, it's like, okay, one pet, and then I got to get out of this room. But I mean, Hammy, like, and I think this is why dog training is so important. It's like with your kid. My mom wants to talk about home training. You know what I mean? So you start in the beginning, and the great thing is Babette has numerous books, and she has a great training book for basic training, and then. But I think you're right, Dr. Fleck, in the sense that you might start with the basics. Like today's modern pet owner of our genre, Babette, would train their dog, would go, because, Babette and I were city folk for a while. And in the city, it's very common for people to train their dog. And one of the reasons is the social aspect. But I think when you have a lot of older school people, like in communities like Florida or just age groups, they think, oh, well, my dog, naturally would sit, naturally do that stuff. So they don't really do a formal regime. And also with seniors, they don't have a regular schedule. Hammy has a regular schedule. So I didn't know if it was like, I thought, and I didn't really think about the pavement being hot, but at 5:30 in the morning when it's pitch black, the pavement's not hot. Or I
Right.
thought, is it, I have a border around, maybe he was afraid of the border, like it's not in the ground.
Are you near any canals or lakes, Charlotte? I wonder if he hears a gator.
I do live near a creek. That's not an option. It's like 4 or 5 houses down. Um, I'm always careful because occasionally that creek, it goes into a body of water that eventually will end up in Tampa Bay. But no, we don't have any gators. We do have raccoons.
Mm,
I don't have any I've seen one at my house, but I haven't, and that's because I left a bird feeder outside. I didn't, they were doing, recently they were doing demolition at a church, but this had started before that happened 2 weeks ago. And at
mm,
5:30 in the morning, they're not doing it. Or
right.
Saturday or Sunday, they're not doing it. So maybe it's just like, it could be a phase.
It could be a phase, especially if he hasn't been doing it long. I'm guessing that there might be some animal he hears that's freaking him out. Because, there are all sorts of weird sounds. And if you can't see them and you don't know what they are, you're not used to it. I mean, he probably hears birds all the time living in Florida, but it might just be, an off kind of animal that he hears that you don't even realize he's hearing.
That's a possibility. And also, dogs obviously hear at a
Mm-hmm.
much higher level than humans do.
Yes.
I'm going to try the biscuit. I'll try walking him by himself. I'll try that later today, and I'll see if that makes a difference. But I'm telling you right now, that's not going to last for a real long time, not at 5:30. I mean, I will admit that sometime like today, I went out in my nightgown and my bathrobe because no one's going to see. Nobody in my neighborhood leaves to go anywhere until 5:45, so I'm almost home by then. And a few people have spotted me in the nightgown and the bathrobe. And it's hot, but I don't care. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Dr. Fleck?
But when it comes to your pets, people can laugh all they want to, whatever you wear. I'm reminded of when I asked people to bring in urine samples, and I know, and I vision the lady or the gentleman that are collecting the sample, and I always ask them what did your neighbor say to you? When you were trying to collect the samples. I mean, you just get a vision of that. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to practice and watch people about their pets because they do love them. And if they do have an issue, they really do need you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. I think that's really what the point of the segment is.
Absolutely.
Because I think at the end of the day, if you had a child who needed to see a specialist,
Mhm.
correct? And this is something
Yes.
that, Babette has dealt with her children, that you go to one. You go to the best one you possibly can go to. And I also think if you have a dog that develops issues later in life, you have to buck it up,
Mhm.
spend the money, because you always have these unexpected.
And these issues you're talking about aren't necessarily that which be threatening somebody physically, like a biting problem or so, but we're talking about issues as
Psychological issues.
yeah, really. I mean, and that really bothers people because they want their pet to be perfect.
Of course they do. It's an
And
extension of them.
and they want that relationship to be perfect. Again, I see it every day and I love it, but I know that it really bothers people. So they need you.
I don't know if I don't know if I want my pets to be perfect. I guess I've been around enough dogs in life that I want them to be happy. I think it's really interesting because, we've been rebranding our show lately and we've talked about health and wellness, but we've also, and this is one thing I think, that we always talk about on the show is affordability, because that, having a pet is like any other relationship. You want it to be successful. And sometimes, money talks. So you have to recognize that when you have a problem that you need to solve it. And I mean, you know, I'm fortunate enough that I have, friends like Babette and Amy and Brian who will always come to my rescue um, when I need them, when I call. But it's important to recognize that at any time in a pet's life, you might end up having these issues. And yes, it's fodder for the neighbors or whatever, but I think that uh, you have to be able to, have a library. You have to be able to call a trainer. You know, Babette, why don't you share with us where we can find a good and reputable trainer? Where should the pet owner start?
I'd go to the IACP website, which is canineprofessionals.com.
Mm-hmm.
Canine is spelled out CANINE,
Okay.
professionals.com. It's the International Association of Canine Professionals. And you'll find trainers of all modalities, all philosophies there. And it's a great organization to find a good trainer. Really, there's a lot of a lot of experience you have to prove in order to be able to be a part of the IACP.
And then should you ask for reference? You know, obviously you'll discuss your problem with the trainer. Should you ask for references? And
You know, in this day and age, I think you can just, call your vet, do Google reviews. Because, I remember back in the day before we had the internet, people would ask me for references and I'd laugh and think, what am I going to do? Like, one is starting out, I'm going to give grandma's name because grandma will say good things about me, I'm not going to give you somebody who wasn't happy with me last week. So I always tell people, look, if you want real references, call your vet and say, hey, I'm checking out 3 trainers, Joe, Bob, and Sally. Have you heard good things about them? Because those are the people who are going to give you a good reference.
right, sure.
Authentic reference, I should say.
Yeah, and hopefully, and that's why I think relationship building is a really good idea because, you want to be able to, we always say your veterinarian, people like you, Dr. Fleck, are the health coach for these pets out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not uncommon for people to ask you.
And they do.
Yeah.
And probably like most of my colleagues, we don't know where to send them.
Which is unfortunate.
Well, I think we've accomplished 2 things. I'm going to try the biscuit lure, and then where to get a good dog trainer from.
Did we cure Hammy or not?
Well, I have to put Babette's suggestion in practice. I'm going to have to get out there and feel the ground. I'm going to have to walk him alone. I'm going to have to give him a biscuit. And then I'll walk him with the other dogs and give him all biscuits. And, it's a lot of work, but I'm willing to try. That's, and if there's more issues, I'll call Babette.
I think that's a good point. If you're not willing to put forth an effort, they'll never resolve the problem.
Thanks for viewing our content on Pet Buzz Plus.